Okay, this is a very hard question. The choices are going to basically seem identical to most people, myself included. They're really similar. So the first thing, though, is let's make sure we put this question in the context of the passage and have the right strategy for it. So it looks like a line reference question because it literally has a line reference. So it seems like something we should be able to do right away. But the question also says that we're looking at how this phrase political question kind of changes over the course of the passage. So this is really one of those whole passage questions that we want to save for last. So save whole passage for last. That's our strategy here. You really want to do everything else before you get to this question because that's going to allow you to read the most important parts of the passage and get a sense of the main ideas so that we have a better sense of what's going on here. But we still should probably look at that line 3 because that's where she's going to introduce this idea and it would be helpful to understand the context. Now we did need to read that for another question, for question 35. So this shouldn't be a surprise, but when she says political question, she says, we are told that it is not within the province of woman to discuss the subject of slavery, that it is a political question, and we are stepping out of our sphere when we take part in its discussion. It is not true that it is merely a political question, right? So she's saying it's more than that. Now, she's going to keep going on, and we may need to read some stuff, but here's a case where I might just stop and say, well, is there any choice that doesn't match with her rejecting the common definition of this phrase? So she says, or choice A says, she claims the designation is an outdated one, and then offers alternative definitions. Well, it kind of matches. I have a little trouble with this word outdated. That's a little too specific, a little too strong for me, because she didn't say it was too old. She said it was just not good. It's not true that it's merely a political question, right? That's what she says. She's not saying it's too old. That's kind of what I'd be looking for here. I didn't see that, so that's not a great sign, but it matches enough that I might keep this choice anyway. Choice B, she dismisses the designation as too narrow, but then demonstrates its relevance to her audience. Well, it's not merely a political question. That word merely is doing a lot of work there. It's saying it's a political question, but it's something else too. It's more than that. It's not merely just a political question. So there's a case where that phrase, too narrow, does have a match in the lines. Now, we haven't gotten to the second part of the choice, that she's demonstrating its relevance to her audience, so that I don't know if that works, but this first part works more than outdated in my mind. Let's look at C. She contends that the designation has become trite and then invites her audience to revitalize it. Well, trite might be a tough vocab word for some of us. It basically means like trivial or cliche. And so she's not really saying that. Again, I try to avoid words that get too specific. The broader, the better. Something that just says that she doesn't like it, that would be my ideal choice right now. Too narrow is maybe the least specific of these three. So all things equal, I'd probably pick B here just on that. But we got to keep doing more. We haven't proven anything yet. Let's look at D. She describes the meaning the designation has for men and then challenges women to embrace it. Well, does she? I don't think so. I mean, it certainly starts off with her rejecting this idea in some way, not with her describing the meaning for men. And as I remember from all the other questions, this passage is really about women. It's not about men. So this phrase seems wrong to me. This would probably be the one that I would get rid of first, just because it misses out on this idea that she's like rejecting this phrase. Now we got to figure out the rest, and this is where hopefully you remember some stuff from the other questions. We could skim. That phrase political question keeps coming up. We have it here, and is a subject comprehending interest of such magnitude merely a political question, and one that is in which woman can take no part without losing something of the modesty and gentleness which are her most appropriate ornaments? Well, that's a tough question that she's asking, but there's that word merely again. I kind of crossed it out. It's not merely a political question. She's implying it's something more than that. Skipping around here, she mentions it again here and here. Admitting it to be a political question, have we no interest in the welfare of our country? Right? So she's saying women care or should care about slavery, and that's the political question that she's talking about. So look, here's a case where knowing the SAT, I have a big leg up on this question. I know that strong words, specific words, are usually going to be bad. And I want the most vague, weak choice that I can find. And of the three that are left, B is the weakest one, right? She dismisses the designation as too narrow. That's a little strong of a phrase, but the word merely supports that strong word. But then demonstrates its relevance to her audience. So remember, her audience is women, and she keeps bringing up political question and saying that women should be involved in slavery. So I guess that kind of fits. Whereas I don't remember her redefining it. She seems to continue to use the phrase the way she did in the beginning. It's not a new definition. And plus, like I said, outdated is a very strong word. I don't remember her talking about it being too old. That hasn't come up. And then C, she contends that the designation has become trite. Remember, like I said, trite's not a great word here. And then invites her audience to revitalize it. Well, revitalize means bring it back, make it good. She doesn't seem to be praising the phrase, saying we should bring it back. She just seems to be saying that somehow women are still involved in it as a political question. She's trying to show that it may be political, but that means that it is relevant to women because it affects them. It affects their homes, it affects their families, things like that. And so slavery is a relevant issue, whether it's political or not. That's really tough. But if you have to guess, try to avoid choices where there's a lot of those strong words, specific words. If one choice feels a little bit more wishy-washy, a little bit more vague, that's the better guess. It's not always right. It's hard to figure some of that out sometimes, but it's right often enough that it's worth a shot. And so here, I would maybe be at about 70%, 75% confidence in my answer. And then that last 25% confidence I'm mostly just getting from knowing the SAT and knowing strong words. And that sometimes is all you can do, especially if you got to move quickly and get to the next passage. So don't spend a lot of time on this. Do your best, pick an answer, move on. If you do have time at the end, you can come back. But I don't know how much time you really want to spend on this. I don't think it's worth that much time. It's only 10 points.